So here we are. The name of the podcast is Structural Integrity, and I'm here with Cole Miller. You're one of the founders of Skyview.
Yes.
And why don't you tell me a little bit about Skyview and like who you serve and how long you've been in the industry?
All right. So at Skyview, we've been around right around 4 years, and we service the commercial roofing industry. We're looking for moisture that's trapped inside the commercial rooftops. So we do primarily low slope, flat roofing for the commercial contractors. And so again, we're trying to find the moisture with thermal imaging that's trapped inside the roof.
Very cool. And so you use drone technology, and you're not new to the drone world. You've been operating drones on your own for a long time. You want to talk about some of your history, maybe?
So I've been doing drone work for about 15 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Started out with a small real estate company doing drones for real estate photography, and then moved into the how do you want to?
Were you in the oil industry or
did some oil and gas? Yeah, we did optical gas imaging along with thermal imaging of the distribution line for the producers. Do substations. Also did electrical, the big transmission tower. We were doing weld inspections on the arms with drones.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do I remember you were talking a long time ago about inspecting windmills or no?
No, we were looking at trying to inspect windmills. You can do that with thermal imaging as well for delamination and also just visual defects if there's grease that's coming out, bearings that are going bad.
Cool. So like for the oil and gas industry, the benefit of using a drone is?
Benefits for using drone is that you don't actually have to be inside of not really a containment area, but an area that can be adverse to your health.
Right.
H2S is a real big issue.
What's that?
It's a byproduct of doing the oil production, and it's a very deadly gas that sits low to the ground. And so you're required to wear these H2S monitors when you're out on location around this equipment because it likes to sit in low-lying environments, and you just a couple breaths of that and it'll make you unconscious and then you die.
Wow, that's incredible.
So we don't have to get quite that close with the drones. With what we were using the drones for was doing the thermal inspection on distribution lines and substations mainly, but the optical gas imaging, you're actually looking for the gas leaks with the hydrocarbons. And so there we could fly the drone around the site while not being nearly as close. And so we weren't putting ourselves at risk being on location, and we can still find and detect all those leaks.
Wow, that's really cool. So now fast forward into Skyview. So you're helping commercial roofers, right?
Right.
Tell me a little bit about the technology, because it's not just, when I think thermal imaging, I think of, all the TV shows where I see thermal images of people moving behind walls and stuff like that. It's not just that. There's other stuff going on too.
Yeah, there's a lot of different applications for thermal imaging. The main one that we're using it for is the moisture detection under a roof. So what you'll end up doing is you have to wait for a rain event. Obviously, you got to have water to find water. And you'll wait for the rain. Rain will soak into the roof where there's leaks. You let the rain dry off on the surface of the roof, let it bake in the sun for a day or two, and then you come back at night after the temperature's had a chance to cool the roof off. But where the water sits it's still going to be warm. Water retains more of the sun's energy for longer than the dry insulation. So the cooling effect happens at a different rate, and that's what allows us to see what we can see.
So without understanding the industry fully, they're not shingles, but there's tar and other stuff that goes on the roof, right?
All different types of roofing types, TPO, EPDM.
So the water gets under that, and a lot of times it'll set or it'll leak, and you're able to see with thermal imaging how wide the problem is, maybe how deep it is too.
We're not going to necessarily be able to know how deep it is. A lot of it depends on the roof type, the actual structure of the roof, the insulation, and then below that there's the decking. And so those all factor into how well we're able to see the heat signature, what time, how long do we have to wait in order to go out and find what we need to find.
And you have to go out at night, right?
Yes.
You can't do that in the day?
Can't do it in the day because the sun's still baking the roof during the day, and it'll mask.
So it's not because of the of the color temperature outside is because of the heat from the sun, right?
Right.
I
It's
see.
because thermal imaging is about detecting radiation, and so radiation is, heat is a form of radiation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so different materials have different abilities to absorb heat or reflect heat.
Gotcha. Cool. So, do you have to have any kind of license to do that, or do you have to register with any city?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're governed by the FAA to do commercial drone work. You have to have a Part 107 FAA license to operate. Um, Thermal imaging, it's not required to have any kind of training. However, it's very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that understands it in the slightest is going to understand that you need your thermal certification. And so that's, again, another course that every 4 years you have to go and renew, which is taking a test, going through a class. Same thing with FAA. Every 2 years you have to renew your license to stay current. And
Hmm.
then drones have to be registered. There's insurance. Quite a steep learning curve.
I'm just curious, with respect to the FAA, are there areas that you are not allowed to because they're close, that you cannot work at it because it's close proximity to an airport?
Correct. Yeah, the proximity to an airport is hugely important. There's airspace authorizations that you need to get before you fly in any kind of controlled airspace.
Mm-hmm.
There are waivers that you can obtain through applying to the FAA for an airspace
Mm-hmm.
waiver. So if they have if there's a section near an airport that might be a 50-foot altitude limit,
Mm-hmm.
and you need 125 feet to be able to accomplish that job, you have to submit an airspace waiver for that job, and that can take anywhere from 60 to 90 days
Wow.
to get that back. So planning is a huge part of what we do. Being able to get an address to look it up and find out what proximity to the airport it is
Mm-hmm.
one of the first things we need to do to get that ball rolling if that job needs it.
Your primary ICP or your avatar, the people you are serving, they could be owners of buildings, they could be entrepreneurs, they could be property management companies.
Right. Property management, building owners, commercial roofers, commercial real estate. Before an owner goes to purchase a building, we can go out and give them a quick report, thermal,
Hmm.
on what we find if there's any active issues going on, and that would coincide with a traditional inspection. We're a great supplement to traditional ways of doing these inspections and doing these kinds of things.
Some roofers will they have like hand units where they go and do thermal
Yeah,
inspections by hand?
some people do handheld thermals. If you've got 100,000, 200,000 square foot roof, that's going to take at least one person or two people all night, because your inspection window is only about 4 to 6 hours in the evening.
I see.
And so trying to do a handheld where you set up and you walk a grid
Mm-hmm.
that you go to make sure you get the proper overlap and you're able to inspect every square inch of that roof. It's a big part of it. And so using a drone, we're able to do that faster and more efficient and still get the accuracy of a handheld being just a few feet away.
Okay, so let's talk about some like technical stuff. I'm a video guy. I love everything about imagery and video. So you're not shooting video. You're taking images, right?
Correct.
So do you have like if you have a really large building, like we're right by just a huge industrial park. Some of these buildings are huge. So you would do some kind of pattern so that hey, this space has already been inspected. Does the technology remember all those coordinates and all that kind of stuff?
You can. These drones all have geolocating as far as their pictures go. So if you need to, you can go back and find that space that you took that picture at. A lot of times we'll use automated flights, so we'll set up a mapping mission for the drone with that particular camera, and it can fly automatically to capture those images, and we can verify that we've got the proper amount of overlap, that every square inch of that roof is covered at the correct altitude. So that way we ensure for a quality inspection.
When you take that information to a roofer or whoever, someone, a stakeholder, how are they viewing it? Do they have to have a special application to view these images?
No, we deliver everything in PDF, so we can do either a printed out book that shows you the report, or we can send a digital report But that's where the qualifications that I have is what allows us to be able to generate that report with our suspected findings and deliver that to whoever the client that ordered it.
With respect to the people that you serve, tell me about some stories where maybe you either saved somebody money or they found out that there actually was more damage than they expected, which is actually, that's a really good, that's a good outcome.
Yeah, and there's kind of two parts of the process that we can integrate ourselves into. As far as if you already have a roof that's aged, and say that you're a building owner and you have a roofer come out and look at it, they want us to come out. The roofer wants us to come out and do another inspection, for the thermal to help incorporate into their report. 9 out of 10 times, we're finding more things than the roofer had found, or we find out that these leaks have actually expanded past where they originally thought these leaks were going to be. And so we find higher impact in the roof than what the roofer usually finds, plus additional spots that the roofer just didn't find.
That's really cool. What other services do you guys offer?
One of the things that we really like to push is preventative maintenance. So you're a building, you just got a brand new roof put on, and a lot of times these are warranted for at least 20 years through the manufacturer. What we propose is coming out once a year to do a preventative maintenance inspection, and that allows the building owner to find these leaks when they're small and get them repaired at a fraction of the cost versus letting them go for 2, 3, 5+ years without knowing they exist. Because let's be honest, a lot of times these leaks are happening, but they just haven't manifested down into the building space yet to where that there is a leak.
Right.
Because it has to get bad enough to actually get through all those layers to come into the office space, that interior space, before you actually know that there is a leak. So preventative maintenance is a huge way to save money. To spend a little bit up front to find these when they're small. You get them repaired for less, there's less damage, prolongs the life of your roof, saves you money in the long run. So instead of replacing your roof every, say, 10 to 15 years for a lot of money, these roofs can actually go 20+ years with the proper maintenance.
Cool. And I see you brought some equipment with you. Do you want to talk about this a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, we use this is a DJI Mavic Enterprise Advance. It's a dual sensor camera. So that means it's got a thermal imager and a RGB or visual image camera that can take simultaneous photos. And it's our workhorse right now.
Cool. Is it a 2-man operation when you go out, or how does
we opt for the 2-man operation? Technically, you can do it with one, but just to err on the side of safety, we like to do 2. So there's the pilot, which is me, and then we also use a visual observer. And so that visual observer is constantly checking for air traffic conflictions. They will communicate that to me so that we can get out of the air if we need to, because that is one of the requirements of flying is you have to yield your right of way to manned aircraft. Also, they can help with if anybody on site wants to come up and start a conversation, they can run some interference so that way the pilot remains untouched and can concentrate on flying the drone and doing the job.
That's cool. Well, so tell me about your remote, because I've seen people use remotes where they'll have like iPads but everything is kind of centrally located in that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so this remote is the one that's paired with, and it's got a really nice built-in screen. I believe it's about 1,000 nit screen that's built in. But this is what we use to fly and plan our missions. You can see all your real-time imagery as you're going. So whenever we fly, we're actually looking for things as we fly, just to make a mental note of where we see things, how bad things are. There's been a couple times where we will find something that's it's a substantial issue that we will call the roofer right then, or send them a message saying there's an issue right here, and we can take a screenshot with the phone to send out and say,
I see,
you might need to get somebody out here tomorrow to check this out, because this is a big issue that we found.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, I love technology and toys, and what I really love is the toys that the technology that makes people more effective, even if you're using AI in any way, shape in that process.
Right. And that is something that's coming. Is there's AI. There are companies that are developing thermal inspection softwares that are integrating AI in with image analysis. And so that's not to say that it's going to replace anybody by any means, because essentially they'll go through and it'll do a preliminary check. It'll mark what it thinks is an issue, and then Obviously, a human with the certification will go back and verify if that's true or not.
Okay, we're about at the end of our podcast. Is there anything that you believe people should know about thermal imaging in general, and why, as a stakeholder in any kind of a commercial building, why I should be concerned about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thermal imaging, again, is one of the great preemptive things that you can do to really help your building last longer. When you think about the foundation of a building, it's not the actual concrete foundation when it comes to longevity. If the roof starts to go, everything below it will start to cascade and degrade at a faster pace. And so taking care of your roof is one of the highest things that you can do to maintain your building for a longer period of time at a lower cost.
Mm.
And on top of the moisture leaks, we can actually find issues with HVAC units, the drain lines, if they're plugged. Because when you have ponding water on your roof, it just degrades the material of the roof that much faster. Also, thermal insulation, like heating and cooling losses with your roof insulation. You'd be surprised at how many buildings get built that have a lapse in insulation because there wasn't enough, or somebody forgot to put some in whenever you do a repair.
Mm-hmm.
You replace an HVAC unit on the roof, the guys aren't always honest and they don't always put the insulation in where they need to. And you'll have these spots where you're just wasting energy out your roof and you don't even know it. And it could be costing you thousands of dollars a year just in heating and cooling bills.
Well, Cole, thanks a lot. I appreciate you coming out to the barn.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And so for anybody, how can they get a hold of you? How can they learn more about Skyview?
We have a lot of information on our website at skyviewtx.com. You can also get in touch with us there, and we look forward to hearing from people.
Cool. Well, thanks again for being here.
Thank you.